The name that echoed through time. The name and number of a Roman legion were far more than mere administrative details. They were a soldier's pride, identity, and bond to something greater than himself. This wasn't just a title, it was a legacy. Each legion's number carried with it stories of heroism, bloodshed, and triumph, passed down like sacred rites from grizzled veterans to wide-eyed recruits. Every soldier knew the story of his legion, how it was founded, the battles it won, and the empire it helped shape. That shared lineage connected them not only to the man beside them, but also to every warrior who came before and every one who would follow. It was a brotherhood across centuries. Symbols worth dying for. The symbols of a legion, the standards, the banners, and especially the golden eagle, were revered almost as holy relics. These weren't just battlefield identifiers, they were sacred objects, embodiments of a legion's honor. To lose one was a disgrace. To defend it was a duty worth dying for. Families sometimes had generation after generation serve in the same legion, handing down more than just weapons. They passed on legacy, pride, and an unshakable sense of belonging. And when legions turned on each other in civil wars, the loyalty didn't fade, it turned personal. One infamous story: the soldiers of the 14th Legion who found themselves stationed alongside their former enemies from the Batavian cohorts after the civil conflict. Tensions exploded. Fistfights erupted in the streets. And when the 14th were punished and sent to Britain, they allegedly torched the city they left behind, an act of raw defiance. That's how deep their devotion ran, not just to Rome, but to the identity of their legion. But that raises a crucial question. If legion identity was this powerful, where did these numbers and names come from? The mystery behind the numbers. Anyone familiar with Roman military history might notice something strange. Some legions had the same number. Some had place-based names while others didn't. So, was there a system to this? Or was it just chaos wrapped in tradition? To understand, we need to travel back to the beginning, the very roots of the Roman Republic. The first legions, temporary, not timeless. In the early days of the Republic, Rome didn't keep a standing army. Instead, during wartime, it raised 4 temporary legions. These were simply numbered 1 to 4 in the order they were created. Once the campaign ended, these units were disbanded. So the first legion of one war wasn't connected to the first legion of another. There was no lineage yet, no pride in a number, no brotherhood. It was just a title for a temporary army. Each year, Rome elected 2 consuls, and each took command of 2 legions when war broke out. That was the structure: simple, temporary, and efficient. More soldiers, more numbers, more complexity. As Rome expanded, it needed more troops, more legions. Numbers beyond 4 started appearing. By custom, the first 4 numbers were still reserved for the consuls, but higher numbers began showing up across the map. Now here's where things get interesting. Some scholars believe legions numbered 5 and up were deployed in a clockwise pattern across the empire. Legions 5-10 operated in Spain. Legions 11-13 served in Cisalpine Gaul, and even higher-numbered legions were stationed in the east, like the 18th, which an inscription places in Cilicia. We can't confirm this system with absolute certainty, but it fits what ancient sources like Livy tell us, and it seems to have held from the 2nd century BC until the rise of Julius Caesar, when numbers meant nothing. But here's the twist. Those numbers weren't fixed. They changed, frequently. If the 7th and 8th legions in Spain were disbanded, the 9th and 10th might get renumbered to fill the gap. So the 7th legion in one war had no connection to the 7th in the next. Imagine trying to trace these units today. It's nearly impossible. There was no lasting identity tied to a number back then. For the soldiers, the emotional bond wasn't to the number, but to the state. Why numbers still mattered? Even so, a legion's number did carry weight in one important way. It made them a justa legio, a legally authorized unit of the Roman state. And in a world where unauthorized armies sometimes popped up, this distinction was critical. Rome sometimes raised legions from non-citizens, sailors, foreigners, or auxiliary allies. Legions like the Alaudae, Pontica, or Gemella didn't get official numbers at first. They weren't yet true Roman legions. Only after receiving Roman citizenship and state sanction did they earn a number, and with it, legitimacy. So when the Alaudae became Legio 5, it was a transformation. That number wasn't just a designation, it was proof of status, a badge of pride. Back then, it didn't matter what number you had, only that you had one. Julius Caesar breaks the mold. Then came Julius Caesar, and with him, a seismic shift in everything. At first, he followed tradition, raising the 10th Legion in Hispania, then the 11th and 12th in Cisalpine Gaul. He kept going all the way to the 15th. But in 49 BC, civil war erupted between Caesar and Pompey, and everything changed. Both sides rushed to raise more and more legions. Chaos ruled. By the end, Caesar commanded legions all the way up to number 47. Whatever system had once existed, whether geographic or chronological, was now shattered. A new era of loyalty, and there was another change. Previously, if a legion was disbanded, its number was reassigned quickly. Not anymore. After Caesar disbanded his veteran legions, numbered 6 through 14, those numbers vanished from records. No inscriptions mentioned them for years. It was as if those legions were retired, not just disbanded. Only after Caesar's assassination were those numbers revived. And when they were, something remarkable happened. Many of the new soldiers who joined these units were actually old veterans, men who had fought under those very numbers before. They chose to return to those legions. Because now, for the first time, the number itself held meaning, a bond, a shared memory. Caesar's 10th Legion even earned a nickname, Equestris, a title that carried honor, stories, and pride, something only the veterans could truly understand. In truth, this marks one of the earliest examples of soldiers forming emotional bonds with their legion's number. Evidence of this can be seen in the 10th Legion retaining its honorary title Equestris, a name bestowed by Caesar himself as an inside joke, likely understood only by his seasoned veterans. This was almost certainly an intentional effort to preserve the pride, loyalty, and deep sense of nostalgia that veterans felt for their legendary legions, particularly those famed for their roles in Caesar's Gallic and civil wars. However, the habit of maintaining both the name and number of legions didn't become widespread until after the brutal civil conflicts between Octavian and Mark Antony. In their efforts to bolster their forces, both leaders split up existing legions and raised new ones to replace missing numbers. When Augustus, formerly Octavian, emerged victorious in 31 BC, he suddenly found himself at the helm of over 60 legions, many of which shared identical numbers. In a decisive and now famous move, Augustus disbanded the majority of these and reshaped the Roman military into a streamlined professional army made up of 28 permanent standing legions. These were filled with loyal, career-driven soldiers. Crucially, each legion always had a core of near-retirement veterans ready to pass down their knowledge, traditions, and a deep-rooted sense of honor. The earlier Republican system of clockwise deployment and numeric prestige, especially for legions 1 through 4, was abandoned. Instead, legions were uniquely numbered from 1 to 22, though oddly, there were still duplicates for the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 10th legions. It appears that Augustus made attempts to eliminate these duplicates, either by disbanding or merging them. For instance, it's highly plausible that the two 13th and 14th legions were combined into single units, and the 3 versions of the 10th legion were reduced to 2. Yet, some duplicates remained, possibly due to their strength in numbers or the presence of highly respected veterans. Rather than risk discontent, Augustus allowed these duplicates to exist, hoping to maintain loyalty while still keeping his personally raised legions intact. We can't say for certain, but this decision likely set a precedent. By tolerating these duplicates, Augustus may have influenced future emperors to disregard strict numbering systems. Nero, for example, would raise another 1st legion. Marcus Aurelius introduced new 2nd and 3rd legions, while Trajan suddenly established a 30th legion, perhaps simply because he had the authority to do so. Still, Augustus firmly established a tradition never to resurrect the 17th, 18th, and 19th legions, obliterated in the catastrophic Battle of the Teutoburg Forest. This symbolic gesture was respected by every emperor after him, and those numbers were never used again. As a result of Augustus's reforms, legions slowly began to evolve into unique entities, each developing its own military traditions and internal culture. This often depended on where a legion was stationed and for how long. Take the 3rd Gallica Legion, for instance, stationed in the east for such a long time that it adopted the local ritual of saluting the sun every morning. This seemingly trivial custom once changed the course of a battle. During a night engagement in a civil war, enemy legions witnessed the 3rd Gallica's sunrise salute and panicked, mistakenly believing they were hailing newly arrived reinforcements. Let's now dive into the intriguing world of legion names. Over time, every imperial legion acquired its own distinctive title. The most common naming style was geographic or ethnic, which could reveal where a legion was raised, like the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd Italica, or where it served for a significant period, like the 9th Hispana and 1st Germanica. Sometimes the name honored a major victory, such as the 3rd Parthica or 4th Scythica. Whether intentional or not, this naming convention sent a powerful psychological message to Rome's enemies, broadcasting the scale and reach of Roman power across different cultures and regions. Imagine standing against legions known for triumphs across the known world. Another major naming category involved honoring gods or emperors, often for propaganda. For example, the 7th and 11th legions were dubbed Claudia Pia Fidelis, meaning Claudius's loyal and faithful, after proving their loyalty during a revolt in 42 AD. Similarly, the 2nd, 3rd, and 8th Augusta were named after Augustus, the 4th Flavia after Vespasian, and the 30th Ulpia after Trajan. Religious names also appeared, such as the 15th Apollinaris and the 1st Minervia, honoring Apollo and Minerva respectively. Some of the most iconic and unusual names revealed distinctive characteristics or backstories. These included the 5th Alaude, Larks, the 6th Ferrata, Ironclad, the 6th Victrix, Victorious, the 12th Fulminata, Lightning Bearers, and the 15th and 22nd Primogenia, Firstborn. While the origin stories of many of these titles are lost to time, some are clear. The Larks almost certainly derived their name from the lark feathers worn by their original Gallic recruits. As for the Lightning Bearers, it's said that during the Marcomannic Wars, the 12th Legion was trapped without water until a miraculous thunderstorm broke the siege, leading to their divine nickname. However, evidence suggests they may have already held this name a century earlier, casting doubt on this tale. A final category of titles made perhaps the most logical sense, those labeled Gemina or Gemella, meaning twins, which signified that the legion was formed by merging two or more previous units. This applied to the 10th, 13th, and 14th Gemina legions. Over time, legions could also accumulate additional honors. For instance, the 30th Ulpia later earned the title Victrix after the Dacian Wars, while the 14th Gemina gained the title Martia Victrix after defeating Boudicca's rebellion in Britain. As you can probably tell by now, the Roman system for naming and numbering legions was loose at best, each emperor applying their own logic. Still, whatever their names or numbers, these legions grew into deeply personal and respected institutions. Veterans were fiercely proud of their legions, often inscribing their names and numbers on tombstones. Many even encouraged their sons and grandsons to serve in the same unit, using old connections to ensure a promising military career. Meeting someone from your old legion? That was like running into a fellow graduate from your university, if your university required 25 years of blood, sweat, and battle. Such meetings often blossomed into instant friendships, filled with war stories and the camaraderie of shared sacrifice. And if this kind of deep dive into Roman military culture intrigues you, we've got even more videos on training methods, command structures, wages, and soldier life. Be sure to explore our channel. And if you enjoy our content, consider supporting us so we can keep creating these historical journeys for you.